But I heard the police took a warrant out on him. Word around is that he's been talking, then got scared and said too much and got to running.
Fame ain't no snitch.
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Elite, and today we're going to be breaking down Raising Kanan Season 4, Episode 2. Let's get into it. So this episode gave us a deeper insight as to where all the key players are and where they stand, setting up major conflicts for the season. So first of all, we see Jukebox training in the military. We see Kanan, he's starting to expand his business a little bit more. And Unique is definitely unraveling, and the feds are still keeping a close eye on the whole Thomas family. So there's definitely a lot to unpack, but first off, let's talk about Jukebox's military training and what it could mean for her character going forward. So her being in the military is definitely going to come into play with her character later on, because she's learning discipline, tactics, and survival skills. And those are all things that she could take back to the streets for real. And also, people have always said that Ghost and Tommy, they moved real smart and real tactical, being, just two regular dudes from Queens. So what if, when we see Ghost and Tommy in Origins, what if Jukebox, impart some of that knowledge onto them? I feel like that's definitely a possibility and could definitely explain how they got out of so many close calls. But then things took a turn for the worse when she sees a fellow soldier getting dishonorably discharged just for their sexuality. So this is really what pushes her to leave, because she doesn't want to live a lie, because in order for her to stay in the military, she'd have to, pretend like she's just a straight woman, which obviously she's not. So unwilling to live a lie, she leaves basic training, which is not really allowed. But later on, we do see her back with Aisha. And it's clear that Aisha, is not really that interested in like a long-term type of thing as Jukebox was, because Jukebox was like, oh, I could stay, we gonna be together, da-da-da. And the second Jukebox started saying all that, you could tell, like, based on Aisha's face, she was like, she wasn't really feeling that, not at all. But this is what really sends Jukebox back to Queens, because at first she was going, stay with Aisha for a little bit. But once Aisha said, she needs to figure some stuff out on her own, that's what really sent her back home for real. And then let's just talk about the investigation that was on the Thomas family, because the feds and most of the NYPD, they all believe, or at least they're all saying, that Howard and Ronnie were killed by foreign nationals. So as far as Rock is concerned, the heat in her family has died down and it's over. But Captain Baptista, as we saw, he's not really all that convinced. And he had asked Detective Garcia to, dig deeper and to circle back to the night that Howard got shot. And I mean, we all know who shot Howard that night, so like, come on. So this definitely means that the Thomas family and their troubles with the law is not over. And meanwhile, the police are actively hunting for Famous, right? And Kanan got aggressively pressed for information by Garcia, showing just how badly they want him. But since the cops don't even know what Famous is, this really raises like a question, like, did he run? Or did someone like stash him away? Like, where exactly is Famous? And later on in the episode, we do see him watching Vanessa from his car, still trying to like piece things together and whatnot. But by the episode's end, he does like a drastic move against Rock's business. And this just goes to show, like, he's not all there right now, but he's more so focused on his revenge, more so than, reconnecting with his family, really. And then we catch up with Kanan and his business, which is definitely thriving, as we saw. So we see him and OC counting money when Crystal walks in, right? And then, she tried giving him some little advice about OC, but then that's when Kanan was like, nah, OC, he's good with numbers, not people. So it's definitely interesting to see how Kanan is shaping up to be like his own boss, because we didn't get to see any of that in the original Power, because by then he had already lost his business. And then we learned that Kanan paid for Crystal's abortion despite her wanting to keep the baby. And she clearly has a deep desire to be a mother, which might be some foreshadowing in my opinion. I referenced this in another video. Go check that one out if you haven't listened to it already. But, there's some speculation that the writers could retcon her into being Sean's mom's, but we're going to have to wait and see. And then I thought this theory was dead, in this scene, because as we saw, they kind of broke up. But then later on in the episode, Crystal comes back, and Kanan reassures her that she's his girl. And given how the show keeps hinting at her wanting to be a mother, and I just feel like another pregnancy storyline might be on the way, like, maybe in season 5, maybe if they do like a little time jump between Origins and Raising Kanan, he'll already have a son. That remains to be seen, but we will find out. And this is very important, even though it's kind of like a blink and you'll miss it kind of moment. But we do see that Kanan bought himself a Mercedes Benz. You know, he got his own car after he refused Rock's car that she bought for him last season. And my partner that I run the channel with, he feels as though, you know, that they might recreate the iconic 50 Cent photo where he posed with his Benz at 19. You know, that would definitely be mad tough to see. So we're going to see if they, you know, maybe in the show they're going to recreate that. Maybe it's going to be some kind of like promotional material. But, you know, we'll see. And then we see Marvin picking up Blue from rehab, giving him some advice on how to stay clean. And let's not forget, Marvin's a former addict himself, so he knows the importance on having to stay busy. But then we also see Marvin struggling with his own frustrations because last season we saw him put in real effort to better himself and be a better person. But, you know, from what he said, he felt like doing the right thing hadn't really got him anywhere because of the whole situation that happened with Gerald, you know, his kids, and like Gerald was trying to snitch on him. Like, we just see hints in this scene that he might start slipping back into his old ways. And then as we see, Marvin's involvement with Stefano continues to deepen, and Stefano gives him yet another job, which is shaking down a Bucky who owes him money. Of course, the situation escalates and Marvin ends up killing the guy in his own bar. So these jobs just keep pulling Marvin in deeper and deeper, and we know that this will not end well. It's definitely going to come back to haunt him. It's just a matter of when. And then let's just talk about Lou's music career, because in this episode, we do see that his arc revolves around his music. So he meets with a record executive who offers him a chance to run a new label. And Lou did say that while he listened to the artists that were already signed with the label, the only one that he saw real potential in was B-Rilla. And later we do see Lou meeting with B-Rilla while he's in prison, offering to get him out the same day if they end up working together. And to me, that's the part that felt a bit like far-fetched, because like, who is Lou to be getting anyone out of prison the same day? Like, I don't know, that part I just didn't see it. But my partner did point out that a judge probably already granted B-Rilla bond. You know, he already set a bail amount. It's just that B-Rilla probably can't afford it, because he said he was on like food stamps or some welfare. He said he's still on welfare, you know, despite being a good rapper. So he obviously can't afford no bail. So Lou probably got his lawyer to pay that, and he's going to help him fight those charges, you feel me? So that's definitely how he got out of prison so fast. And then we finally see Snaps and Pop meet with Kanan and Rock, and they say that since they were in business with both Ronnie and Kanan, Ronnie being dead is not voiding any kind of agreement that they had, and that their business is not dead. And from what Snaps and Pops are saying, they sound like they kind of have a good point, because like, even if they are being a little bit underhanded about it, the deal is still on in their eyes, despite Ronnie no longer being here. And I mean, from what they're saying, it's kind of fair, because Ronnie and Kanan were made out to be equal partners in the business. So of course, Snaps and Pop are definitely going to want to return on their investment. And let's just talk about Kanan and Rock's tense dynamic this episode, because one of the best scenes was Kanan confronting his mother about killing his father. But as Rock, you know, she always standing 10 toes, standing firm behind every decision she makes. So without missing a beat, she instantly said, like, you know, like, Kanan, you know, you might not like my choices, but you love the results. And I feel like this definitely rings true. I can't even lie. She might do some dastardly things, but Kanan always reaps the benefits from her decisions. But more importantly, she makes it clear she can live with not trusting her son, but in business, trust is non-negotiable. So no matter how messy their mother-son relationship gets, she always has to be able to trust him on a business level. And this moment really sums up Rock's entire mindset, because everything is about power and control, and she's making it clear that even Kanan has to earn his place. And, you know, furthermore, on that same scene, this is really just why I like Raising Kanan and the depth that their writing has, because they don't leave anything unsaid. Like, they talk about the stuff that really needs to be said for real within these dialogues. Because back in the original Power, there'd be a lot of times where it felt like they were kind of like dancing around certain subjects with Ghost, Tariq, the whole St. Patrick family. They'd kind of like dance around stuff and never really actually say what needed to be said. For the most part, Raising Kanan really doesn't do that. They spend time on the dialogue to make sure that, you know, the stuff that the characters need to address and need to say, they end up talking about it. And then the big question for this episode is, where is Famous? I already, brought it up early in the video, but as the episode wraps up, we still don't know where Famous is. The cops don't have him. Kanan has not seen him in 2 months. So it just really begs the question, like, did he go into hiding? Is someone in the Thomas family helping him hide out? Because all we know from what Marvin said is that when Famous got hemmed up by the police, he said a little bit more than he should have about the wrong thing, so he ran. And I mean, I know Lou said that, Fame not no snitch or whatever. But I mean, it's like Marvin said though, when you really facing that bed, you don't know what anyone is going to do. But just some final thoughts, like this really felt like the real season premiere because episode 1 was just wrapping up a lot of loose ends from last season. But this one set the stage for everything to come because we saw that the stakes are definitely rising for Rock, especially, with her bold plan or her bold idea rather to maybe get Quan out the way to take his spot. And then we saw like Marvin kind of slipping back into his old ways. He's not as good as controlling his emotions and his anger this season. So we definitely going to see a little bit more of that, I feel like. And Lou is making moves in the music game. So we definitely going to see more of that. And as he progresses with his music career. And Unique is really the wild card for this season because, like, we saw him check out Rock's lawyer, which was mad unpredictable because, like, the lawyer didn't really have nothing to do with his apparent demise, but he's just really trying to go after everyone that's down with Rock. As he said in the first season, he said anyone that's down with Rock gotta go. So he's not going for none of that no more, feel me? He's hitting her on all fronts. So, I mean, I'll give this episode a solid 7.5 out of 10, and I expect things to only get crazier and better from here. But I mean, what do y'all think? Drop your theories in the comments. Is Famous in hiding? Is someone protecting him? Like, will Rock actually snitch on Stefano when the time comes? Let me know your thoughts. But until next time, I'm going to catch y'all later. Peace.